And I say that.
Sorry.
And I think it's very important that we don't see that in a paternalistic way. You know, there's actually this is a collaborative endeavor, but if it's a case of we know best, I think we have to approach things we know our bit. The great thing about New Summer is that you know very little. So I know nothing about Lincoln or Lincolnshire. So I've got a company interview. I've never even been to Lincolnshire. So, you know, I truly was, I felt like a foreigner in a foreign land. And up down from the other side of the Peak District, my first thing was, call that a hill? You know? So it's a bit of a transformation move. So actually, sometimes you can step out your own comfort zones, even if it's somewhere within your own country, and sort of think, yeah, I don't know this. Imagine what it's like going somewhere completely different. And I think this is what this is. As a university, you know, and my personal background, I've done a lot of work around impact and impact of research. And some things I'm proudest of over the years is the work I've done with impact, predominantly actually in Europe rather than in the developing world. But what I would say is that this work is about impact. And it's the impact that our research and our knowledge exchange has. And that's really important to me and important to the institution. The institution is going to become its ambition of being a top 40 and a top 15 ultimately over a period of years to get there. It will be the impact of the work that people remember us by. You know, think about, you know, the great scientists, etc., and they talk about their work. They don't talk about the actual paper they publish that lead to it. It's always the impact their work had when they spoke about it, etc. You know, I think that's the part. It's the impact. People remember you by your impact, not by the purely academic part. Yes, colleagues remember that, but the truth is that's the impact, and it's the values that we make and we take with us in that impact and that work. And I think the SDGs are really key in part of that. I'm really, you know, as I sort of reflect, and I will do in the next few months, about the existing research strategy and how to adjust that, etc., I promise you that SDGs will be strengthened within that. You know, that's one promise I will make right now. You know, that actually this should be a truly international university, and it should feel international, and part of that is about its SDGs and its roles. So I'm really delighted to be here. I won't take that compliment anymore, but thank you very much for inviting me. I look forward to listening to the keynote, etc., for the rest of you, and good luck and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Carl. That was great. And you said many of the things I would have said, so that's perfect. So we can move on quite quickly. I just noted here on the agenda, I wanted to set a bit of context. And there's a couple of things that it would be good if you could have in mind during the day. So the SDGs provide that framework to make the world a better place. And I'm delighted to hear that they're going to feature as part of our research strategy going forward. They're not perfect, we know that, but they're the only framework that I'm aware of that we've got, that so many people around the world have signed up to, that gives us a vision for what a better world would look like. So I'm really pleased to be learning about them today. The university has signed up to the Sustainable Development Goal Accord. So through that signing up, we've promised to progress the Sustainable Development Goals. And furthermore, we've started to enter the Times Higher Impact Ranking, which is all about how we're contributing to the Sustainable Development Goals. So please do today bring forward, if today inspires you to think about how your work is contributing to those Sustainable Development Goals, or if you can see links that in other people's work, please do bring them forward so we can account for those and improve our accountability around these Sustainable Development Goals. Having said that, you're not here to listen to me. I know that. And Ananda is sitting here. So once I found out about Ananda's wonderful Mobile Arts for Peace project, I just thought, what an amazing project. And I know a number of you here today are involved in it. It has touched so many lives in such positive ways. And Ananda's going to tell us all about it. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this, Ananda. Over to Professor Ananda Breed.
Thank you very much, Carl and Libby, for creating this opportunity. Also to all of you for being here to celebrate the work of Mobile Arts for Peace and all of its many contributors, including children and young people, educators, civil society workers, and also policymakers and decision makers, as well as researchers like yourselves. Just to note that we do have an online community joining us today. So we've linked today's SDG Celebration event to our Mobile Arts for Peace closing conference, which starts today and ends on the 26th of May, which you are all very, very warmly invited to as well. So just to note that because we have both a face-to-face and an online community, just to note that we might need to make slight adjustments at different times to make sure our online community stays with us. Vina, is everything all right in terms of online? And is there a particular place I should stand where you can see me best in the screen and our friends can see me best? Over here, okay? Okay.
Maybe you can step forward.
That's fine. Okay.
Looks good.
Thanks. Hello, everyone online as well. We are currently in the midst of national and international conflicts caused by structural violence and ongoing cycles of conflict. This often leaves one with a feeling of isolation and helplessness that compounds problems related to mental health and well-being. So how do we navigate these often complex, interdependent, and cross-sectoral issues? How might we look towards an arts and humanities approach to address preventative and responsive measures? In my talk today, I'll be presenting case studies from a large £2 million Arts and Humanities Research Council Global Challenges Research Fund project entitled Mobile Arts for Peace, Informing the National Curriculum and Youth Policy for Peace Building in Kyrgyzstan, Rwanda, Indonesia, and Nepal. I hope that through these experiences and examples that I share, that you will take inspiration from how individuals, communities, and institutions have sought to address global challenges. I'll be providing case study examples that relate to the following SDGs. One more slide.
Yeah. Listen, Ananda, if you're happy to.
Oh, thank you. Although the SDGs are not in silo, they're often very interdependent of one another. Thus, I'd ask you to please listen for the invisible thread that connects one SDG to another, one narrative to another, for positive change to occur. SDG 16, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions. The MAP project and methodological approach was informed by my doctoral research in Rwanda after the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. I was exploring the use of arts in the context of transitional justice and reconciliation, grassroots arts associations. What I found is that communities where grassroots associations emerged, that the participation in the transitional justice systems increased. There were higher confession rates and activities that integrated perpetrators, survivors, and community members. Many of the grassroots arts associations worked within a systems approach working alongside various local to national structures for change to occur. Most importantly, both survivors and perpetrators stated that the grassroots arts associations enabled a kind of third space or alternative space for them to envision and create renewed and reimagined relationships with one another and their communities. Some of the grassroots associations were led by young people who demonstrated the power of peer-to-peer support and the need to consider intergenerational trauma within this demographic as well, and how children and young people can serve as active players in peace-building processes. I took this learning with me as a lead consultant for the British Embassy in IREX Europe for another project entitled Promoting Tolerance in Indonesia that began to develop the MAP approach through the co-production of curriculum in residential workshops conducted with children and young people affected by conflict and radicalization alongside educators and cultural artists. This project was then scaled up through funding by USAID and IREX to create a people-to-people approach to prevent violence in Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, and included additional components of conflict analysis, working with partner organization Foundation for Tolerance International, or FTI, one of the largest mediation NGOs in Central Asia. Additional projects in Nepal integrated civil society organizations and the focus on formal and non-formal approaches to inform curriculum and policy. Together, these experiences and approaches, alongside co-production with our partnering organizations, created the Mobile Arts for Peace, or MAP approach. So the project aims to provide a comparative approach in relationship to the use of interdisciplinary arts-based practices in peace building by influencing curricula and approaches to working within and out of school youth and creating structures and modes of communication between decision makers and youth. So this infographic gives you a sense of how we work in terms of adapting local arts-based methods and cultural forms for dialogic purposes. Then linking local actors to the regional and international policymakers and engaging marginalized young people in the development and follow-up of policies. Aiming to create communication structures between young people and policymakers, leading to impact in terms of scaling up youth-led peace-building initiatives from local to regional to international levels. In all 4 countries, we began with phase 1 activities. So we first worked with partners to explore what would be a need that we could address. How can MAP be of service in the communities where we will be working? Then we worked with cultural artists to explore the adaptation of varied local cultural forms to see how they could be used for dialogic purposes, which then led to the development of a MAP manual and the creation of youth camps, which trained young people to serve as facilitators, but also youth researchers. Additionally, to change what can be a pedagogic shift in terms of student-led research projects or student-led teaching and learning environments, leading to the development of 32 youth-led research projects that then informed 8 medium grant projects and 2 commission projects, as well as 2 large projects, which were exploring monitoring, evaluation, and learning, working alongside children and young people who were developing the MEL tools that would be then used for the project to be held accountable to our users. Next, I'm going to go into SDG 3, good health and well-being. In March 2020, during the onslaught of the pandemic, partners from Rwanda stated, "We need MAP more than ever." Individuals were in lockdown during the period of commemoration. Many were having flashbacks, and there was limited support for mental health and well-being. In partnership with the Institute of Research and Dialogue for Peace, IRDP, with Singaniamanzi and Rwanda Biomedical Center, which is the leading health organization in Rwanda, we were funded by the UKRI Newton Fund to use arts-based approaches and online platforms to connect mental health service users with mental health service providers. We conducted several stakeholder meetings to rename symptoms using Kinyarwanda terms and proverbs, and took a communal and people-to-people approach to mental health and well-being. Mental health service providers reflected on the importance of the project to decolonize mental health. The project provided monthly online workshops that were organized across 5 district groups, and we implemented an arts-based psychosocial module that we used to train health service providers that integrated MAP at Home into the mental health in schools program in Rwanda. The module and approach is now being used for training hospitals and health centers across the country, alongside informing the new National Youth Mental Health Strategy. Here I'll provide another example from the MAP project entitled Visualizing Peace. So we here have Tom Martin and also Chastu Rohorai, who worked together on this project. So it's one of our medium grant projects that were funded through MAP. And we also worked alongside Kwetu Film Institute to create short films that were produced by children and young people with lived experience of mental health to create dialogue about well-being to further tailor programs and policies for children and young people. So we're going to share a clip, one of the films that were created, and just to also invite you to a workshop, which is a parallel session this afternoon from 12 to 2, that Tom and Chast will be leading in Studio X, in which you'll have further information about that particular project at that time. Vina, would you mind sharing the clip, please? Thank you. And because it's an 8-minute clip, I'm going to move it slightly forward, but again, please go to the afternoon workshop. And apologies, Tom and Chast, for needing to fast forward a tiny bit. So what happens here is a young girl has kind of verbal abuse by a parent, leaves the home, and this is where we begin now.
Кажу, бабайчик бабай, бира, мува. Чем бабай? Мурам бабай, кона jampunga. Ari kubirande. Murande anapo. Ese obuhunga murumbo. Kubirande ntengana bibaye. Ibyishimo nkiri muto. Ibyishimo nkiri muto papa ataraza ndamugore. Nagiye mbwirwa ko mama yansize uruhinja yantaye uruhinja kuriya tubona ari muka data wakimuzana yaheruka noteza akankubita akantuka ibibazo byambanye byinshi n'ubu sinyiga ngo mfate hano muka data ahora nuraho umujinya urabona papa batamenye neza
ihangane garushyenze ihangane rwose ndakumva akabazo bufite ndakumva ibyo gucamo nanjye nabiciye ntaje sinjye nabaga kwa marume ariko umugore we yakoresha ubugome barashura ndazaga hanze nkaburara gahoro nabyukiraga ku nkoni kankoresha imirimo ivunanye gusa naje kuhagurutsa igenda kwa mukuru wanjye
mwana we mwiza ibyo ni ibibazo wenda wabiciyemo waba baguhamagara
kuko kandi muri sara nyinshi ibibazo umugore wenyine
ihangane
oya ndaje ngiye kugera sawa
genda ndabona gusa
sawa
Contava do agatiro, agatiro, na contava.
Yeah, thank you. So just to note in that film, what I think is quite interesting is how we have an example of two young people sharing their suffering. So in Rwanda, there's a term for that, kubabarira, which is different, kind of the Judeo-Christian concept of forgiveness. So that idea of shared suffering and that peer-to-peer support, I think is important to note here. Also the idea of the connection to nature. And then you see kind of a transformation happen when she hears the drum, when she begins to dance, when she actually begins drumming. So there's also a question in terms of the role of engagement in cultural forms, in terms of what does that do in terms of the embodiment of different experiences, memories, feelings, and how might the engagement with those embodied forms transform that in different ways as well. Our next example is SDG 4, quality education. Similar to the case study in Rwanda, we aimed to respond to a need or invitation within each country to be of service. Additionally, we tried to work within existing structures for sustainability. In terms of SDG 4, quality education, Nepal was in an interesting phase for possible intervention and impact to inform curriculum and policy, as the government had mandated the ownership of curriculum development down to the local level. However, educators had often noted that there was a lack of time or training at the local level to create the local curriculum. In terms of MAP's aim to create a platform for dialogue between children and young people and decision makers, MAP partners, including Tribhuvan University and Human Rights Film Center, reignited child clubs that had formerly been dormant. Child clubs were supposed to inform local governance, but this aspect of community organizing was not active. Thus, through the child clubs and work with local cultural artists and educators, MAP created a local curriculum and established child clubs for children and young people to speak directly with decision makers and policymakers. The success of this approach has informed local to national to international projects in relation to creating an arts education framework in Nepal, in partnership with Kathmandu University and UNESCO Nepal, alongside working to inform UNESCO's new culture and arts education framework that was introduced in February of this year. What is important to emphasize here is the location of knowledge within local cultural forms. For instance, using Mithila arts, a visual art form that has been passed down through generations from women and girls. Also, Doida, a call and response form of dance and folk singing from the far western region of Nepal. Participants from these regions noted the importance of communicating through their local cultural art forms and to have these art forms represented at the national level. In this way, repositioning knowledge production and what it means to have quality education with creative arts at the core of education. In addition, MAP has created continuing professional development or CPD programs for the subject of music, dance, and drama, and arts and mental health with University of Rwanda. Gender equality. So within all of our projects, we noted that there has been disparities regarding gender equality that has been nuanced according to varied socioeconomic, political, and cultural contexts of each country. For instance, in Kyrgyzstan, the issue of girls' access to education was a strong theme that was expressed through film and interactive form theater performances. And I'll show you a clip from their project here.
And this one? Yes. Do you want to start? Yeah.
నేను నేను 16 yaşındayım. Kırgızdan Jawa çağrından doğup, мен бұл торға емлеушінің қызы қатысып қалдым деген сұрау бардыңыздар пайда болса керек.
мурдагы жылы биздин мектепте плакаттар илинген, онлайн сабактар болгондуктан бизге WhatsApp аркылуу дагы ар кандай маалыматтар жеткирилген. Аларда мындай деп айтылганда, эгерде сиз лидер болуп, жашооңуздагы көйгөйлөр чечилип келсе, чоңдор менен өзүңүздүн туштарыңыз менен диалог түзүүнү кааласаңыз, жана ошол диалогту искусствонун бир кандайдыр бир түрү менен түзгүңүз келсе, түзүүнү үйрөнгүңүз келсе, анда эмесе биздин долбоорго катышыңыз дегенчи. Бул жерде мен аябай кызыккан, себеби мен өзүмдүн чөйрөмдөгү, жашоомдогу көйгөйлөрдү чечүүгө аракет кылып, өзүмдүн жериме кандайдыр бир пайда тийгизүүнү каалайм. Мен бир нерсени өзгөртө албасам деле, жок дегенде ошол көйгөй, ошол нерсе биздин жашообузду, бизди тынчсыздандырып жаткандыгын көрсөтө алам жана айта алам. Мен бул долбоорго дагы бир кызыккан нерсе, бул жерде искусствону колдонуу айтылган. Мен искусствону колдонууну кааладым, себеби ал мен үчүн жаңы нерсе да. Биз бул долбоордон көптөгөн сабактарды, тренингтерди өтүп, жана көптөгөн адамдар менен таанышып, ар кандай ой пикирлерибизди айтып, ар кандай оюндар менен өттү. Мен үчүн эң эсимде калган, эң кызыктуу болгон сабак бул өзүбүздүн мектепте өткөрүлгөн форум театр болду. Биздин форум театрыбыздын темасы кыздардын окуйм деген ойлорун колдоо кылат экенчи. Себеби биздин айылда көпчүлүгү мындай эркек балдарга басым жасап, эркек балдарды жакшыраак окутуп, кыздарга анча басым жасайт да. Кыздарды 9-11 класстан баштап иже андан кийинки окуусуна тыюу салып, үй жумуштары менен алектендирет. Биздин дагы ошол форум театрыбыздын негизги көйгөйү ошол апа менен кыздын ортосундагы чырды айтып чыккан. Мен башкы ролду ойногом ал жерде. Бул форум театрдан мен көптөгөн жетишкендиктерге жете алдым, себеби өзүмдүн ичимдеги эмоцияларымды, өзүмдүн кандай сезимде калгандыгымды, өзүмдүн эмнени сезип жаткандыгымды, кандай кайгыга түшкөндүгүмдү, башка кыздар айта албаган сырларымды айтып, өзүм мындай ортодо кандай десем, бир киреп катары болдум десем болот. Себеби мени көргөн адамдар, ата-энелер ушундай, менин кызым деле ушундай болуп жатса керек, мен деле ушундай.
Just to note in this clip, it goes on to show some of the clips from the performance itself, but I think what's really important to note here is the intergenerational element of interventions. So this was actually her story, and when it was performed publicly and the mother was in the audience, the mother was deeply and emotionally affected by it and apologized to the daughter, noted this is what had happened to her, this was her experience, and she and her family and her school went then to kind of campaign for the importance of girls' access to education. So that's also something I wanted to share in terms of thinking about interventions isn't just at kind of the governmental level, but it's also at the family level in terms of thinking about behavior change and support for children and young people as well. And the next clip I'm going to share is related to a project in Rwanda called Gira Ngoma, or One Drum Per Girl, in which the lead artist, Kiki, sought to engage 275 girls in 4 drumming festivals that were held across a year to drum, dance, sing, and recite their messages to local decision makers that then reached national and international advocacy and policy informing events. And just to note here as well, I think what's interesting about this project is the artist was really trying to explore how do we reconstruct culture. So if gender inequality is embedded in culture and cultural forms, how do we reimagine and reinvent cultural forms? So the artist had attempted to bring girls drumming to the national stage in Rwanda without much success. And then in this particular project, a number of government officials acknowledged the work of Gira Ngoma and the importance of Gira Ngoma in terms of addressing the new gender equality policy in Rwanda. So we're going to show you a clip from one of the festivals.
meza ariko tuhisha inyuma y'icyitwa umuco tukabuza abana b'abakobwa uburenganzira bwabo. Abana b'abakobwa kuvuza ingoma byagakwiye kuba uburenganzira bwabo kuruta uko twumva ko ari umwihariko w'abana b'abahungu.
Urebye twebwe bisa naho twari tutaryamye bitewe n'amatsiko dufite yo gutsinda, twabyiteguye neza kuko harimo amarushanwa ari uguhatana n'ibindi bigo.
Federasiyo yacu igizwe no guhamiriza, igizwe no kwivuga, igizwe no gushimisha abantu.
Federasiyo yo kubyina, tugahamiriza, tugakora jagoringi.
kugira ngo dushime ko ibikorwa byatangiye kare, tukaba twigishije abana bakiri bato nabo bakazakura bazi ko umugore ashoboye.
Amategeko arasobanutse, politike y'igihugu irasobanutse, ariko umuco hari ibikwiye guhinduka kandi bizahindurwa na Huye. Huye hari byinshi yagiye ihindura.
Ikintu nabwira abarimu bacu ni ukubashimira kuko baratwigishije turafata, turabashimiye cyane, turanabakunda.
And now we're going to move to kind of just the concluding thoughts and our final SDG, which is SDG 17, Partnership for the Goals. We have engaged over 194 partnering organizations that include local schools, non-governmental organizations, cultural organizations, civil society organizations, research think tanks, higher education institutions, and international organizations. None of this would have been possible without the profound partnership for the goals, working with our committed, creative, and knowledgeable in-country teams across the 4 countries, including the UK, 5, that led project delivery. Together, we have delivered over 828 engagement activities, which include meetings, seminars, workshops, exhibits, public talks, performances, conferences, and policy roundtables. We've created over 279 artistic research outputs that include comics, songs, drawings, paintings, plays, films, dances, and published 62 publications ranging from blogs, articles, podcasts, reports, and policy briefs, as well as a book, which we have a launch this week, which you're very welcome to. We would like to thank all of our partners and participants, including University of Lincoln and all of you for your listening today. Thank you. Huge thanks to our funders, AHRC, GCRF, and just again, to warmly invite you to attend our MAP conference this week that includes arting workshops to learn more about the cultural forms that have been used in MAP, and exhibit both virtual and face-to-face, We have the exhibit in Nicola de Hay, the glass corridor. We have a monitoring, evaluation, and learning report launch. We have a policy roundtable, and we have a book launch. So please come attend as many of the sessions as you can. And again, huge thanks to Libby for inviting us to be a part of this SDG celebration event today, connected to the MAP conference. And if anyone has any follow-up questions or comments, please either contact me directly or contact the MAP email. And there's some of our social media links as well. And do we have any time for questions, Libby?
Yes, you've been very efficient.
Excellent, excellent. And just to note that we do have an online community as well. So Vina, please let us know if there are any comments and questions online as well. And thank you to our online community for being with us today as well. Questions, please, Jason.
Question, a bit specific. You know, when you showed us the phases and you talked about when you went in to an area to discover what the need was that a completely open book, or was there some needs that needed to fit in within your doc policies, or was it what do you want to talk about and we'll talk about it?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a combination. So we were lucky in that we received a development award from AHRC. So we were initially funded about £100,000 prior to the funding of the MAP Network Plus project. And that was basically a year of funding to help support co-production, to help support developing the research design of the project, to focus on the parameters of the research, to start thinking through spheres of influence and theory of change, in which we could start engaging our stakeholders from the very beginning in terms of thinking through what would be the need that we could serve, who do we need to work with and partner with to make change happen, and also to support children and young people as being main drivers in the project as well. Please, Gary.
Noticed on the last page that you had a tab that said United Kingdom, and I just wondered what was under that tab. And how,
yeah, so what we've tried, yeah, thank you so much for that question. So what we've tried to do is for our MAP closing conference to have it be international in scope and to try to include our stakeholders across phase 1 and phase 2. So phase 1 was the initial scoping, in which I shared that slide. All countries went through that. Phase 2 was when we funded the sub-project. So MAP kind of worked as an umbrella funding project. And midway through MAP, there were GCRF cuts. So a large part of our budget was actually cut. We'd probably have an in-person, all of our wonderful delegates from across all 4 countries would be here today, but we didn't have the funding for that. So what we did is we gave pots of funding to each of the 4 countries so that they could create in-country conference events that linked to each other. And so basically there's conference events in all 5 countries. So the ones that many of you have been invited to are the ones here in Lincoln. But if you click on those tabs, you'll see activities in the other 4 countries as well, if you want to attend any of those conference events that are happening in the other 4 countries, our partnering countries.
And I guess just building on that question, is there anywhere to go in terms of saying foreign policy? I mean, does this relate to the massive cuts in development policy, development in all projects? So I just wondered if that ties into any sort of what can the UK sort of gain from this in terms of moving forward?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. So we're very much thinking about secondary benefits. So what have we learned? And I think Carl or Libby had referred to the fact that there's so much learning that's been had, especially because in the context where we've been working, the communities we've been working with have found a lot of very resilient kind of pathways out of conflict that we can learn from, right? So it's thinking through and learning from that, as well as thinking through and learning from some of the local healing practices that have been explored in each of the 4 countries. So as an example, the very kind of local peer-to-peer communal approach to mental health and well-being that has been explored in Rwanda, to see how that might transfer or be adapted in the context of the UK, because I'm sure you'll hear from Chast directly this afternoon if you attend the session with Tom and Chast, but Chast has noted, you know, the Western approaches just don't work, that one-on-one type of counseling. And so trying to find a more communal approach to mental health and well-being could be one of many secondary benefits that could be adapted to the UK context.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also particularly with the 20 active conflicts right now, Darfur is particularly particular. Yeah, it might be useful.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, please.
So there's not another one. I'll ask a question if that's all right. So the MAP methodology, where you go to a community and say, how can we help? What do you need? That presumably could be applied in UK communities right from the get-go. And are people doing that? Are people doing that? Have you done that?
Yes, so I would say that people who work with kind of co-production at the center of their pedagogy, people who work with kind of participatory approaches to research, arts-based approaches to research, that there could probably be many other projects that are taking that kind of approach. I would say that what might be quite particular about MAP is the strong focus on local cultural forms. So it's suggesting that the cultural form itself is not neutral. So it's not like, oh, let's use film or oh, let's use photography, or actually like putting a huge weight and emphasis on what is the form we're using, what are the narratives and histories that are embedded within that form, what kind of dialogues are actually already happening within the form itself, what could be activated to perhaps help the children and young people in developing a communication structure platform between children and young people and decision makers. And also in terms of thinking about that intergenerational element of dialogue, how we're using local cultural forms. So I'd say that that probably is one of the biggest nuances, I'd say, in terms of the MAP approach from more general kind of participatory approaches.
Sorry, but are you suggesting, I don't know whether we must have local cultural things in the
Absolutely.
We don't see them though.
Absolutely.
It's really hard to sort of pinpoint because we're in it.
Yeah.
But presumably we can use our culture.
Absolutely. There's I mean, in every culture there it is, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's an inherent part of our humanness is we want to express, and it's not just going to be this. It's going to be through dance, it's going to be through the arts, it's going to be, there's so many ways that we are talking all the time and sharing all the time and thinking through all the time. So it in terms of your original question, could it be done in the UK? Yes, it can be done anywhere, you know, in terms of trying to explore what might be a local cultural form. Let's say in Lincolnshire, one of the things I love is the Leadenham Festival. There's this little village close to where I live. And once a year, on a Sunday, the first Sunday in August, all of the local artists volunteer their time. Local community groups open up their lawns, houses, and there's this beautiful folk festival. And I go every year because it's such an amazing event, you know, and people share songs from Lincolnshire. And so, I mean, that's one example. If we were to maybe work alongside some of the communities engaged in that project, and we're trying to explore some of the local songs or songwriting with young people in those communities, that could be an example of how it might be done very locally. Yeah.
Can you say something from the online?
Please.
So Alberto comment that it's very important what you're saying, and it's also because that's also a way of looking at it in a decolonized way and how to be effective on the ground. So, yeah.
Yes, thank you so much for that comment. I don't know, we have so much wealth of experience in this room, and I hope you don't mind me calling on you, but we have Chast and Noob, who are co-eyes of the MAP project from Rwanda and Nepal. Would either of you want to speak to the importance, like why proverbs, Chast, or why the use of local forms, and likewise with Noob, why Mitla arts? Do you want to say anything to that?
I would say that the beauty of MAP is research through actions. It's also acting through research from both. You research through action, but you act through research. And I would say also, it's a research from the context, from both the context and the concept. And Ananda was saying how I'm a clinical psychologist. I have been did education from Western approaches and psychotherapy, whatever, and sometimes when I was just trying to apply, to practice, just after genocide, using the formal approaches, and we like to say we should adapt, contextualize. In the MAP, we do both. We adapt to contextualize, but we also formalize the inform that can work, rather than adapting and contextualizing what does not work. So sometimes the local culture, those local practices, and it's where really MAP have been formalized. And we're talking about healing in Rwanda during COVID, how songs, how proverbs, traditionally we have been using proverbs in all processes, and it was very easy. There is one of the medium project picturing the past, present, and future. That's one of them. There are 3 proverbs talking about the past, present, and future. If you the past, if you don't know where you come from, you will never know where you are heading to. That's a one proverb. So meaning, if you don't know your past, if you don't know what happened to you, then you can never know where you go, the solution. The second proverb is about the present. If you don't know what is happening in you based on your past, you will never know the journey that is in front of you to get where you want to get. That's a wonderful proverb. It's the present. What happened to you in the present. And the last proverb, if you don't know where you are heading, everywhere you are alive, you think it's a destination. That's the last proverb, one proverb. So picturing past, present, future, basing on the proverbs, on those 3 proverbs, it's very easy for one people to understand what's our past, what our pains we are having because of our painful past, and what will be our future. So that's how really local proverb, localization, it was really very important. So the map we try really to link is the context and the context and formalizing the informal. That works. That's how I can say.
Thank you, Tess. Did you want to add something? Please.
Thank you very much. My name is Ananda Breed. I'm in Nepal. So I hope we can organize some. It's called Janaki Women of Other Society. We are working in the southern part of Nepal. It's a plain land. And normally in the area where we work, the women and girls there do not get a platform to speak their voices, to speak their voice, their interest, their lives, etc. So, and on very popular form of art, we call it Mithila art. You saw them on the presentation. Mithila art is there, and many women know how to paint the Mithila art. Because Mithila art is something that has been passed from generation to generation till today. So we use Mithila art to help women and girls to communicate, speak their past lives, present life, and their future dreams as well. So we also use proverbs, as I just shared. There are many proverbs in the communities that people are using them. Some proverbs speak positively about women, some speak, most of the proverbs, they have a negative word about women and girls. But people use it, though it hurts women and girls, but nobody cares. Okay? So, through MAP project, we also allow them to reflect their feeling, what they feel when they hear proverbs, and what they feel when they hear the negative and positive proverbs. Okay, so we organized a workshop there. The girls and women presented their past lives, their present lives, and their future dreams as well. So what we found is that they are used to, they know how to paint Mithila art, and when they presented their past, present, and future dreams, future aspirations through Mithila art, and when there was an exhibition, many policymakers also came and they listened their voices. The policymakers and all other stakeholders who came to visit that exhibition, they listened interestingly. They asked women, actually, what you want to say here. Then the women and girls, they confidently got a platform to share their voices. And policymakers and other stakeholders, they listened their voices. Some of the, and there was, before painting the Mithila art, they went through a discussion process between grandmothers, mothers, and young women, and the paintings reflected something, the voices of the grandmothers, mothers, and the young girls as well. So that became a kind of effective communication channel to communicate the challenges, social challenges that women and girls are facing to the policymakers.
Thank you very much, Chastity.
Tomorrow morning, we are doing a Mithila art team workshop, and all are kindly invited to attend it.
So that will be from 8 to 10 tomorrow morning, but I promise coffee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananda, that was brilliant, and thank you for your contribution too. So that was fabulous. So now we have a break, and my challenge to you all is to talk to someone you don't already know, please. Several someones you don't already know, although it's going to be quite a short break. Although we have caught up on quite a bit of time there after all, so that was brilliant. Thank you. So yes, if we try and get back together again at past, just to review where we are. Yeah, please take up that challenge to talk to people you don't already know. It's always easier to talk to the ones you do already know. Talk to them, exactly. Talk to them about which SDGs they're interested in, what they took from Ananda's wonderful presentation. That was so inspirational, Ananda. And also, I'll put the QR code for the Padlet up again. The Padlet allows us to communicate through time as well as here today. We can save the comments that you put there. And the question, I thought, if you're short of things to say to those people you don't yet know, How do the UN SDGs help add value to our research? So that's the Padlet question. What I really want to see though is you all mixing and mingling and talking to each other, because that's the benefit of being here. I'm going to put this noisy urn back on, but there's hot water in the thermos alongside as well. So please do come and get another drink and some biscuits. So yes, over to you all.